What's up, guys? So just super quickly before we dive into the podcast, my SEO strategy for 2024 is going to be really focused on link building. So if yours is as well, then I recommend you check out Rankifyer. That's rankifyer.com. These guys have built a phenomenal marketplace where you can buy affordable link building and guest posting packages. And this is especially great if you're an agency and you're buying in bulk. You guys also get a 25% discount on your orders just for watching this video. All of the details are going to be in the pinned comment right under this video. So big thanks to Rankifyer for sponsoring this video, and I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. What's up, man? So thanks so much for taking the time to join me. How are things? How are you doing today?
Good. Like now back from Thailand, so went from like plus 30 degrees to minus 5 degrees or something right now. So it's a bit of a shock. I miss daylight and the sun in general, but other than that, pretty good.
How long did you stay in Chiang Mai for?
I mean, I was in Thailand for months, right? Because we did DCBKK.
Nice.
Then we flew our entire team to Phuket. We had a team retreat there, and then we did Chiang Mai SEO.
Amazing.
So like I was glad like to not have to talk to anyone for like 5 days when I came back, because I met so many people during that trip. But it was fun. Like it was good to kind of like see what the industries are, how people are thinking about all the changes this year, etc. So it was interesting for sure.
Are you gonna go next year? Am I gonna see you there?
I don't know yet, to be honest. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. I know the tickets are mostly sold out.
So we're screwed.
No, I think you always find a way in if you want to, but I'm not worried about getting in. But it's like it depends on the schedule. Like we need to do our yearly planning in January, and then I'll be able to tell if I have time or not.
Okay, nice, cool. So I have a bunch of SEO questions that I'm going to grill you on. I do want to talk about how you got started. So what that was like. I think around 10 years ago, right?
Bit more now, like
bit more.
20, like 13, something like this. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then how that led to Authority Hacker, and then I also want you to tell me about you speaking at like Harvard. You spoke at Wharton as well. How did all of that come about?
Yeah, conferences as well, and like lots of like startup stuff. Basically, at the time, we were quite connected to the startup. So I mean, how did I get started? Honestly, it's just like. I had to do an internship as part of the end of my studies. I've always been a geek on like computers and stuff. Like I used to like build computers and sell them, and I paid for like I made money from like playing online games as well at the time, which at the time was pretty crazy because there was no streaming, there was no nothing, etc. But like I was making good money playing online games. I did all of that, and I took my first internship in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, with an Australian startup, and it was an SEO company. I didn't know what SEO was at the time, but so I had no idea what I was doing at the office mostly. But I also didn't know anyone in Kuala Lumpur, and there was a nice pool where I was staying. So I just ended up buying books and reading about what I was doing in the office. And that's how kind of like I started to be interested in SEO more than just my internship. Like I actually was really getting into it. And by the end of the internship, like it was the gray hat glory days, right? You would spin articles and like put like 1,000 times the same article spun on a bunch of WordPress blogs, and you'd rank in 4 hours. Like good days, and it's like at the time, it's like I had no notion of what had gray hat, etc. was. It's just like, does it work or not? Google was pretty basic, and so I figured out how to automate half of the office job with a bunch of tools at the time. Like by the end of the internship, by like 6 months time or something. So they hired me. So they hired me remotely while I was finishing my studies. I was working part-time, kind of like evenings, etc. And then when I finished my degree, they hired me full-time. I came back to Kuala Lumpur. At the time, it was hard to get a job as well, right? It was like 2008, something like this. So it's like, post-financial crisis, you're a fresh graduate. Right. You have a job offer. That was decent. Like it's I wasn't rich, but like I was doing well for Asia, like I could live in a city center, had a condo with a pool, etc. It was good. Like I wasn't saving a lot of money, but it was fine. So basically I went for that, and then I just kind of like further progressed into learning all that stuff. And I started building sites at that time on my own, right? 2008, right? So it's been a long time, and it was just very small experiments at the time. It wasn't big businesses or something, but I was making some money. And I kept progressing. I helped these guys open an office in London. I was European, so they didn't need any kind of visa or anything. It was much easier for me to go to London. But at the time, while I was living comfortably in Asia, they barely raised my salary while moving to London, which means my lifestyle took a big dive.
Jesus,
it's like I went from eating out at a restaurant all the time, etc., to like having £3 per meal to eat a Sainsbury pasta every meal or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's not so fun. And so that's when we decided. So that I knew Mark at the time, who's my current business partner. I already knew him like 2010 or something. His parents lived in Kuala Lumpur, which is where I was. That's how I met him, through common friends. And we had decided to be a reseller for that agency at the time. They kind of had like a white label program. So it's like they would basically do the work and you just make the sales and just collect the difference. And so because I wanted to do some marketing for the agency and they didn't let me, and I just asked them for like $500 or something at the time, not much, they said no. So we started our own white labeled agency selling the same service, but doing that stuff and spending our own money on that. And it worked. And so we started getting clients. We ranked on Google, like literally ranked on Google, had a live chat on the site, and then converted people on like $800 a month SEO packages or something. And so it worked to the point where it could sustain us, basically. And so that's when we're like, well, fuck it. I'm making barely any money in London. And Mark was in Budapest at the time. He had moved there. And so I just moved there, slept on the floor, and we started an agency on the floor in his room.
Slept on the floor?
The first week and a half, like not very long, but like not for like 6 months or something. But yeah,
okay.
Beginning, yeah. But like it's like the same floor where we bought all the tools to start the agency, etc. All of that. That agency, we ran it for like 4 years. It peaked at like more than 30 staff full time and like a big office in Budapest and so on.
Jesus.
So it did pretty well. It did well, but like it's hard to be very profitable with an agency. Like you're always either understaffed and then you can't do the work properly, or you're overstaffed and then you kill your profit.
Yep.
And so while it's easy to make revenue with an agency, it's hard to make good profits. And it's like in general, dealing with clients was a bit of a pain in the ass, but we gained lots of experience through that agency. So we did work for like Macy's, we did work for Expedia, we did work for like some 99 Designs, Flippa, we did SEO for them as well. We did like lots of like pretty big sites that are still big today, lots of celebrity chefs as well. We did lots of rep management for like crazy celebrity gossip stories at the time. And like so we had lots of experience and we had to address a lot of things quite creatively. So it's like this is really what built up our experience. These like 4.5 years, it made us think about SEO a bit differently. But because it was tiring to just battle with clients to get anything done, we felt like our talent was underused, basically. And so that's why we decided to start websites. And so we started to do websites with the profit of the agency. And after maybe a year, we started having like 5 figures a month sites, like in terms of revenue. It started to be like more interesting than running clients, basically. And that's when we kind of made the executive decision to let the agency go. We sold it, and it was an okay sale, but it wasn't like it's like I wasn't mega rich from it, but it was okay. But it was just like a decent exit. Bought me several years of like not worry about money, and so you can just focus on your projects, basically.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then we started just running sites, basically, like doing that on multiple sites, doing quite well. And people asked us more and more like how we were doing things, how does it work, etc. Because it was an interesting business model. We had the freedom, we were doing good profit. And so that's when I started making tutorials, and we started Authority Hacker, where basically it's like I couldn't be bothered to explain the same thing 50 times. Yeah. So I would just like either write a blog post or make a short video or something like that.
Yeah. And
then eventually like people wanted more like processes and how to do that, etc. And that's how we started the first courses on Authority Hacker. The first one was like $38, I think, or something. Like it was very cheap.
Nice.
It was just like lead magnets. The thank you page would have like a very short sales page with like something small. But like very quickly, even though the site was really not ranking much on Google, because ranking for SEO terms is fairly complicated even these days, it's like we'd still get like several sales a day on this thing. And people still wanted more. So then we made a $300 product. Then we started Authority Hacker Pro, that was a subscription at the time, and it kept growing. So it's like every time we relaunch the product, we keep adding more. So like Authority Hacker Pro started at like 30 videos or 20 videos or something. And today it still exists, but there are 600 videos in a metro area.
My God.
And if you count the reshoots, etc., if I look at like our video hosting with all the, like, there's over 1,000 videos uploaded actually in there. So it's like, more than 400 videos have been retired since then. So and we reshoot stuff all the time. Like I've reshot like 6 videos this week or something, for example.
Holy hell. Wow.
So yeah, and so that's pretty much like how Authority Hacker came to be, to become like the training platform it is today. So we kind of have like the beginner side of things, and we have the advanced side of things at this point. And I'm pretty sure in the industry we're the biggest community now in terms of size and sales actually.
Yeah, it has to be. I don't know who else.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we follow the competition fairly closely, and it's like I can't tell exactly what their numbers are, but like from what we see, yeah, we're up there basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. But there was a big focus on for growing Authority Hacker. I mean, there's a big focus on SEO. If you check it in Ahrefs, you'll see it's doing pretty well actually. And so a lot of sales come from that now. And the podcast, and but also a big focus on funnels. I think the problem with most SEOs is they know how to get traffic, but they have no fucking idea what to do with it, and they don't make much money because of that. And so like, yeah, we took the counterfoot of that. Sometimes we focus more on conversions than we focus on traffic, and that helps us.
When's the funnel course dropping?
There is content on
you
funnels
inside
that. Yeah, inside H Pro there is actually there's email marketing. There's how we run our list. There's how to build an evergreen funnel offer. There's like launch email templates. There's
you got it all. Yeah, you got it all.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's dive deep into SEO.
Okay.
So, first question is, how are you guys doing link building? How are you how are you thinking about link building in 2024? Yeah.
I think it depends on the stage of your site. Like if you're a new site, it's hard to like acquire links naturally, to be honest. Like, let's be honest, like very few people link to like a brand new site, unless I think it really depends on the feel of the site, right? If your site looks like default Gen WordPress, probably nobody's going to link to it, whatever you write on it.
Yeah.
It's like if you look like an established brand, even though you're not, you maybe have a shot. But the problem is like most people look more like default Gen WordPress than they look like an established brand most of the time. So that's when you kind of resort to the classic like Haro, some guest posting, etc. And it's like, I think for new sites it still works. The problem is that once you reach a certain level of authority with your site, these kind of tactics, they tend to kind of like flatline, like you're gonna buy another 50 guest posts to your site, and your traffic's just no traffic's not like this year. The traffic's going down with the updates. And so like you're like, well, I'm doing link building and I'm still going down. It's not like, what the fuck? And it's like, but the same links probably would have helped a new site, so it's like the problem is that people struggle changing gear, and so like so early on I would do all the classic SEO tactics everyone's talking about. It works. We've seen it many times. We work with we talk with a lot of link sellers as well. I see a lot of their clients. I see all of that, and it's like we see it with our students as well. It works well. But let's say once you reach the 40, 50 range, like you're kind of established, but like you're not a big player as well. That's when, in my opinion, you're changing gear, and then it's about building assets that get links. So that's the digital PR stuff. That's the statistics pages, for example. You've probably seen this on Authority Hacker, for example. We run industry surveys as well. So we build email lists, then we use the email lists to create data through surveys, and then we kind of like advertise the survey results to get press, basically. And then using the data from the surveys, we create new statistics pages with data that Google has never seen before, and we rank number 1 for it. So for example, if you Google AI statistics now, which is a pretty competitive keywords for the statistics stuff, we're number 1. We beat Forbes right now, for example.
Huge.
Because we've done that, for example. So like that works quite well. But obviously it's more like you need to organize a full campaign. It can take time. And it's kind of like it builds on the rest of your marketing. If you want to do surveys, you need an audience. To do an audience, you need to collect emails. You need people to open your emails. You need to do all these other things. So you need to build assets. And so that's why I said, like, as a new site, you can do that. And it's like, I'm not an idiot. It's like people will recommend to do that. And for many people, that's the right thing to do. But to establish yourself, like, if you do the classics, you need to do them well, though. It's like 80% of guest posts are shit. Like a lot of Haro placements these days, they're either no follow, they don't reply, or they don't link to you. or whatever. So it's like, again, like you need to understand it's a numbers game, etc. And so like it's pretty difficult. And that's where expired domains kind of come in. They kind of help you skip these difficult early stages by having a decent link profile on day one, you know?
Nice. So is this the same strategy that you talked about when you were talking about the DR 90 plus links on that? Yeah. Is that the same thing you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you open the AI statistics pages and you check the links that we have to this page, for example, you'll see that we have lots of very, very high DR links from there. And it's like all passive. It's just like just as a result of getting there. But like, yeah, we're competing against Forbes. It's not exactly like we have an authority advantage here, you know?
Right.
It's like, so it's like it's possible, but you're gonna have to work 10 times harder than they do for that, basically.
Got it. Okay, and a couple trending topics in the space. EEAT, and then I also want to talk about Topical Authority, which also keeps coming and going. Okay. So, do you believe in either of them? In both of them? How real do you think they are? Yeah, let's do one by one.
I mean, EEAT, I was very doubtful at the beginning. Right? I was like, how does Google do this shit? Like, how does it work? Like, how does it work technically? How do they do this?
Right. Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of examples this year, especially with the updates of like sites doing things right is going up while sites that don't do that go down. Now, the problem is like there's EEAT and there's how you actually do this, right? It's like you can do EEAT in a shitty way, which is like go and hire some low-quality doctors from Nigeria on Upwork and have them in your about page and just like, okay, that's it. I covered the EEAT, I'm done, right? Yeah. The problem with the EEAT is probably it's a lot like this stuff matters and it's like it counts, but if it's not backed up by links, I don't think it's gonna necessarily kick in, right? So it's like a lot of EEAT's links as well, and like how people talk about you, the sentiment about what people say about you, etc. I think Dom Wells recently said like, oh, like running an affiliate program gets a lot of people say good things about you, which tends to help your business rank, which like that's an interesting way of addressing EEAT, for example. So you need like, you also need the external signals. We have an EEAT blueprint now, actually. So like, you also need to make it easy for Google. So like the example I give in EEAT blueprint, so my business partner is called Mark Webster, right? There are a gazillion Mark Websters in the world. I think it's the most common name you can think about. So how does Google know that this Mark Webster is the SEO one and not the famous dart player? Because there's a famous dart player.
Is there?
Mark Webster. So it's like, how do they know if he's also a dart player or if like it's two different people, etc.? And so there's a lot of like technical markup on your site that you can do through like same as schema, for example. So you can like link your properties, etc. And then if your LinkedIn account, your Twitter account reflect your industry, if your LinkedIn account, Twitter account receive links from the industry, for example, from you contributing, etc. Like through that same as schema, these things associate with your website, which helps. You can do that as well through just hiring writers and building very good author pages that do all that stuff. So it's like I explain to people like, maybe cut a little bit of your link building budget and then spend a lot of money on a couple of articles from these very well-established people that have this social, like this profile that makes you look legit, and have an author page and have all these links, same as, which you can even link to their author page on other sites with this kind of schema, for example. So you can help Google figure this stuff out. It's like, there's a lot of like, there's technical implementation, but obviously it needs to be with the right people that have the right kind of like authentic signals. And so, but you can kind of hack your way through by hiring the right people. So that it's like, even Google came out recently saying that they are looking to reward first-hand content in search now. It's like they've been a Search Engine Journal article that came out. Some executive that works in search says, yep, we're doing this. And so I did an interview with a guy on our podcast called Derek Hels, who runs a website called naplab.com. And he runs in the sleep industry, literally one of the most cutthroat affiliate industry out there.
It's brutal, yeah.
He's the 36 or something. So not high, right? You know, like there's like Sleep Institute or something like that. They're like 90 years, like huge
massive,
sites.
Massive. Yeah.
Difficult to compete, right? And he's still like, if you put his site in Ahrefs, he's like vertical, his traffic. He's like skyrocketing after all the updates when all the other affiliate sites are getting clapped. And that's because
I love it.
And that's because he's doing it differently. You know, he's actually doing that EEAT stuff, for example. He doesn't even do link building. He doesn't do link building at all.
Interesting. What was the website? Just so, because I'm going to check it out.
Naplab.com.
naplab.com. Naplab.
You'll see, like he has like a full like testing process, etc. So he really worked on the way he does his content and the first-hand experience. It's hard to beat that. Well, it's a cool example because like a lot of people, when they give examples of sites like this, they give you examples of like really large sites with huge budgets, etc. And you're like, well, that's not what I can do. Derek, he has 4 people. Like it's not a big company. It's a small company that is figuring this out properly. His content's so good, like the mattress companies send him the products for free. There's no economical problem in him having these mattresses. He doesn't need to buy them anymore. When I interviewed him, he was like, yeah, I spent like 15 grand initially buying mattresses, but then I made so good reviews, I showed them to the brands, they just send me all of this for free now because they want to be on my site. And so that's really EEAT. Like you want an example of a guy who does EEAT properly, check this guy out.
Amazing. Hey guys, just a quick reminder that if you're doing link building, you can get a 25% discount on your orders on link building and guest posting packages on rankifyer.com. All the details are in the pinned comment right under this video.
Right. Topical authority now, right?
Topical authority. Go straight in.
I think there's a good chance that's how Google works. But I think SEOs think about it in a very, very bad way. I think it's a poor framework to think about building your site. Because the way people use topical authority now is as an excuse to spam AI content to cover every keyword possible as fast as possible to say they have topical authority. The problem is, obviously, if you keep the same amount of resources, but you produce more pages, you put less resource in each page, right? There's less editing, there's less work being done, etc. And you end up with a site with lots of pages of average quality content. I'm not even going to say crap, I'll just say average. And what kind of site have we seen go down in the updates this year? What is the profile of the sites that we've seen not do so well recently, right?
Exactly that, yeah.
Sites that have lots of content that they need to delete, update, etc., because it hasn't been taken care of properly. So people overstretch themselves under the pretense of topical authority, even if that's how Google works. That's like, I'm not saying it's not how Google works. I'm just saying people overstretch themselves because of that theory and end up with sites that are less satisfying to search engines because they're poorly executed. Like if you executed everything perfectly and everything was done perfectly, that's ideal, right? It's like covering all the pages and all your pages are amazing, great. But that's not reality. That's not how it works.
Right.
And so I'm not attacking the theory. I'm attacking what people do with it.
Right. The implementation, right? Yeah.
And that's the problem. And nobody talks about that. Everyone's just talking about, oh yeah, just get topical authority, cover every topic. And quite often you get some AI rating tool recommended right after that. And there's going to be minimum editing when it's going to be published, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, these sites, I mean, let's be honest, they're not doing well with these kind of updates recently, right?
Yeah. So you see a lot of these sites grow quickly, but they don't last.
They don't hold. Exactly. What's the point? Like money made is rankings multiplied by time. It's like, how long do you stay there? If there's no time, it doesn't matter how high you rank. Like, I mean, it might matter. Like you might make, it's okay. Like you might make 100K. Like fine, great. You made 100K. But you're back to square zero and needing to spend 80K to start a new project after. So it's like we prefer building longer term assets, even if that means slower growth. I know it's not sexy. I know it doesn't produce the beautiful GSC graph people like. Yeah. But I feel like I'm not starting over next year, unlike many of these people. Like quite often, you go to these conferences and people will be like super excited to talk to you about their new project and whatever they're working on. To me, that says they failed their previous one, and it means they just had to move on because they didn't do a good enough job. The people who made the most money at Check My SEO, it's Ahrefs. Ahrefs been working on this for a long time. Obviously, we're not going to talk about credits, etc. But still, like what I'm talking about is they built a real company, basically. They also probably some that have some of the highest traffic value, etc. And same with Matt, right? It's like Matt who organized Check My SEO. Like it's like he has sites, etc. But I guarantee you, his biggest money makers are his long-term projects. And so the problem is people get like, if you have no money, sure, do that. Like build yourself a 6-figure account. But then once you reach that point, switch your gears.
Build a real company. Yeah, build a brand. Yeah, interesting. I like it. I like that you have that perspective. I don't think. Yeah, I think I've asked a lot of people about it, and most people are just like, yeah, it's really important just to get every single topic. But no one's talking about how they're doing it. So
that's the thing. It's like it's theoretical. Like it's still theoretical. In real life, like the quality of the page needs to be up there. And it's like the problem is like people put the same amount of resources in more content, which means usually it's low quality.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, talking about spamming Google with hundreds and hundreds of blog posts, let's talk about AI.
Okay.
So, how are you using AI, if at all? And what is that? How has your content strategy changed? Are you using those one-click generators to just spam Topical Authority? No, I know you're not. But
No, we don't do that. Yeah, it's like, I mean, we play. It's funny. It's like internally as a company, like we actually have employees that have AI sites, for example. So it's like,
really, okay,
yeah. It's like a lot of people in the company do SEO, right? It's like now it's like Authority Hacker is not just me and Mark. It's like we have quite a few people that do SEO in the company, and it's like they run cool experiments, and it's kind of fun to see actually. So for example, I'm not gonna give you the niche or anything, but I have an employee that has an AI site that generates probably 15 to 20,000 visits per day, and I don't think this is gonna get clapped because of how he built it.
right.
Like it's hard to explain, but like he doesn't write an article; he writes a list of small things, and so AI does a pretty good job at that. It's not like it doesn't have to have cohesive thoughts to generate what people are looking for.
Yeah.
So I think that there's room for that, but you need to be a bit smart in your niche selection and how you do that. Like trying to write like how-to articles with AI, etc.
Yeah.
I just like if you can do that with a click of a button, like what stops Google from doing it better than you? They have more data. Like what stops anyone from doing this? And what value add do you have that's gonna make you stay? You know, you're just exploiting a glitch, which is fine. Again, like if you have less than 6 figures in your bank account, consider it. If you're above that, I think you're wasting your time. You're gonna make some money, but you're wasting your time. Now, does it mean we don't use AI? No, we use AI. I use AI for research, for example. So quite often, for example, like for information gain, it's quite useful because quite often what we do is we use Whisper to transcribe YouTube videos, podcasts, etc., and on topics that we're creating, and we have it essentially extract information that is not present in the SERPs through other forms of media, right? And it's like it's pretty useful for research for that. So it finds you stuff that Google hasn't seen before inside the text content that has been talked about in YouTube videos, that's been talked about in podcasts, etc. And you can add that in, and your article, stands out. And then it's hard to do that while listening to like 2-hour podcasts on fitness, for example, or things like that. But it's pretty easy to transcribe that with Whisper and have AI, like literally. Now you have large context windows with GPT-4 Turbo as well. You can feed literally all the pages ranking.
Yeah, so many pages.
And you can be like you can have it extract like stuff that it doesn't have, for example, and that's interesting. Like how you can generate interesting information gain, and it does a research work. The AI, like it doesn't tell you things. It just like compares one piece of content to another. It's like, oh, it has this, it's missing this, etc. And you're able to do that. Like I use it as well for like generating video scripts, for example. Is very handy to help me with like pre-intros, to help me with all of that. It does a pretty good job. Like if you feed it a lot of information, and even writing an article, you can do that, but you need to put a lot of work in the outline. For example, we have an AI blueprint in Authority Hacker Pro, but it's not one that's gonna generate one-click articles. It's like we use AI to assist us generating outlines, then you manually edit it, you use these kind of processes of information gain, etc. Then you have a massive outline that you can feed to the model, and it's going to write a pretty good article. For example, if you check the SEO scams article on Authority Hacker, I actually write it in the blueprint with AI, and it ranks number 1 for example, is affiliate marketing legit, which has like 4,500 searches per month or something.
Nice.
That article is written, but it's been there for months, like for almost 1 year now. So it's stable as well, but you'll see the information gain that you'll find in this compared to like a one-click written article. This is like generated on camera with AI. Like people see me do it, and then I say, let's post it and see what happens.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so it's like AI is a tool. AI is a gun, basically, right? It's like you can do stupid things with it, or you like it can be pretty useful. And then it just depends what you do with it. The problem is that the industry is looking for the lowest effort way to use this.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, just the quickest hack. The quickest hack. Yeah.
And it works short term. I agree. It works short term. No problem. Like I see this internally. Like we have people running AI sites in the company. I see that. But at the same time, like, look, that employee I told you, for example, he generates good money. He probably generates like 3 to 5K a month of revenue from the AI side. Something like it's good. It's like it's not insane, but it's good. He could quit his job and go after that, but he understands that it's not a long-term thing. He's like, great, that's gonna, buy me a deposit for an apartment or something like this, or whatever. Like it's gonna get me something.
Right.
But he also understands that it's not a long-term thing. And so like, as long as the problem is like the industry doesn't do that, right? It's like if I'm selling an AI writing software, it's like that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, look, you don't have to work anymore. You can save a bunch of money, and the article is just as good. And the problem is people had standards so low for content that they find AI content great,
Yeah.
And so it's just revealing of how people felt about content.
Yeah. It's interesting because one of the main takeaways that I took from Chiang Mai is how people are using AI, and the main thing is the people that are doing the best are the ones that are feeding the AI
information,
the most amount of info. Yeah. So
exactly,
it was like the main theme, right? It was like, don't just use like the basic ChatGPT to give you content. Like that's never going to give you anything valuable. Feed it an insane amount of data, and then it'll
what's
know.
your value add? Yeah, what's your value
exactly.
add? Like, and you need value. The AI is just a tool that just puts it together. But if you have nothing to put together, you have no value add. And so you can't. But like if you have a lot of info, yeah, great, it can work. And who has the most info? Google. So it's like I'll be scared.
Goddamn. Interesting. Yeah. So moving into 2024, are you considering other traffic sources? I'm seeing Pinterest pop up on Twitter. Like a lot of people getting on Pinterest. Quora.
Google Discover as well is big right now.
Google Discover, yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely, I'm considering doing that. It's like, for now, I'm kind of like thinking next year, it's like I'm thinking of making kind of like challenges of like, hey, let's just do 60 days of trying to grow that traffic source and then document that. That'd be interesting, But I think, like also Facebook pages. I had a podcast with Anne Moss recently, and she's doing like 200,000 visits per month to her site with Facebook pages right now. It's like, it's pretty good actually.
Not bad.
And her RPM for ads is higher than Google visits. So it's like, it's good actually. So yeah, I feel like there's, it's interesting because on one side you have Google that's like, stop writing for search engines. And on the other side, you have all these traffic sources that are becoming more and more viable. So Pinterest, Google Discover, Facebook, etc. So starting to tell you something about, let's just start writing content that's not necessarily keyword optimized, but interest optimized. Because there's an avenue for traffic, right? The Google Discover is very good at driving traffic, for example. Like if you publish blog posts that are like around trendy topics, provided you're in Google Discover, you'll see that tab in GSC if you have it. You can, I've gotten lots of traffic from it. I know, like, Niche Pursuits also does really well, for example, with this. Same with Pinterest. Like, you can get traffic to this article from Pinterest, from Facebook pages, from Google Discover. And at the same time, you're starting to fit that bill that Google is starting to ask websites, which is stop writing for search engines, write for people. When you cover news as well, you get lots of links. Potentially, if you break something out, you get lots of links, but even if you don't break something out, you can generate lots of links as well. So it can solve a bit of a link problem as well for a lot of people. So there's kind of like a new content pipeline that needs to be thought about right now for a lot of people. Not every, like it's kind of like running in parallel with your SEO content. Like keep running your SEO content and just build a new pipeline on the site. There's probably like shorter stories that are like trendy, related to talking about trendy topics. And that's one thing about topical authority as well. It's like, I said that in the EEAT video. It's like lots of SEOs just use keyword tools to come up with ideas for content, right? And the problem is like you can never be an authority if you think about it that way. And the example I gave at the time, it was something like 3 months after Apple released the Apple Vision Pro. And if you put Apple Vision Pro in Ahrefs at the time, it showed you 0 searches because it didn't have the data yet. What kind of authority are you if you don't talk about the Apple Vision Pro when it's the biggest product category Apple hasn't in the last 10 years? Because your keyword, like Google knows all that shit, right? They have all real-time data, etc. Like your SEO tool didn't show you, but like if you start treating content that way, treating about these trendy topics, you'll probably fill a gap that you have with your website as well. So yeah, I think like we haven't done as much as I'd like to. I mean, I've done well on Twitter this year, for example. Like I've grown quite a bit.
I've seen you.
I not recently, but like this year I've done well. And it's like, I think I know how to drive traffic from there if I want to, and we've done quite a lot. But I definitely want to explore more actually of these things because I really feel like this parallel content circuit is going to be a big part of like the new deal of 2024 of how people need to run websites,
Yeah.
And so it's about like what content and where do you distribute it to justify the cost of it.
Right. Yeah. Let's see what works in 2024. What about buying sites? Are you buying any new sites in 2024? And also something that I like to talk about a lot is, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that people are making when they're buying a site? Like, what's like a red flag that people just ignore, that you've seen before? Yeah.
I mean, first of all, we don't buy many sites. Like we tend to build from scratch very often. We're kind of builders.
Interesting.
It takes a long time, but yeah, it's like we rarely buy. I think the main problem is people think they can just take the same recipe that made a site successful and keep doing the same shit and continue. Like it's quite rare. Unless, like, again, it's the problem with building a site versus buying it is that when you build a site, you learn as you grow it, right? It's like as you grow, you learn what content works, you learn, you optimize your process, etc. When you buy a site, you come in and it's already there, but your skill level is here, And so the problem is most buyers struggle to even maintain the standards when they buy a site. So they produce more content, they produce all of that. They might even keep the same team, but because they're less able to run that team properly, the content quality drops or the content quantity drops or both. And or they just run some cheap outsourced link building service to replace the in-house stuff, etc. And you see this size tank a year later, right? Like very often. So like what really matters is like is the plan you have going forward. And I think most people don't have a solid enough plan when they buy websites.
Yeah.
And that messes up with their results. Yeah.
Okay, so let me get you a bit more of a relevant question, which is, you have a brand new website, right? Which is what you guys like to do. What are the 3 first things that you're focusing on with that brand new website? Also, sub question: brand new domain, you get an expired domain. What do you usually like to do?
So, like, I think my preferred way of running now is like for like a niche site where like I have no foot in niche. To be honest, we do less and less of that. Like we tend to like pick niches that are adjacent to something we're already doing, so that we can leverage what we already have.
Interesting.
So it works better. If you're starting from scratch and you have nothing, you can't do that. But for us, it makes more sense business-wise to do that eventually, right? First is the business model. It's like, where's the money? Like, where does it come? Like, I don't care about ranking. I don't care about traffic. I don't care about all of that. It's like, how do you make money? And ads and affiliates are an acceptable answer initially, but they're not an acceptable answer long-term. Like when I'm doing long-term planning, like I need to have a bigger vision for this project than just putting some Amazon links on the site,
Right.
It's fine to start with it. It's great to focus on traffic growth while you get monetized that way, but eventually, what do you sell basically? Like how do you make like 5 times more money per visitors than you would with Amazon Associates? And that can be a business partnership, etc. You don't have to start a business from scratch. There are several companies that are basically like, oh, sell our shit. It's like now it's like we're well known. They're like, we have all this shit to sell. If you want to make a website and sell it on your site, go ahead. It's fine. And it's like we make a business partnership, and it's like I'll have a profit share or something, right? So it's like eventually you can do these things, but I need a plan. Basically, it's like, how do I make $1 million a year from this site? It doesn't mean I have to reach that point. I need to see the path.
Right, it needs to be feasible. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it needs to be realistic as well. It's like you can make $1 million with Amazon Associates, but very few people do. It's like
tough,
it's harder than building a real business to make $1 million a month for $1 million a year from Amazon Associates.
Yeah.
So that's step 1. Step 2 will be early days, planning the early days. Like, how do I make money in 6 months? How do I get to the break-even point? That's my next question. So it's like, I don't really care about making money. I just want this to run and not cost me anything. So like, that's the practical plan and the only thing that we think about in terms of building. And so like, I'll build like, it's funny because people call it topical map now, but we've been teaching this for like 10 years and it's very similar. Basically, we build like all the topics, subtopics, etc. And we'll zoom into the areas where we like, okay, it's rankable. So we can find subs where there's like weak links, etc. And at the same time, it's monetizable. So like, that's where I might use ads, affiliates, something like this, for example, early on. And then after that, it's honestly, it's logistics. Like, it's how do we get it done, and it's like, it's boring. Nobody talks about that, but it's like,
I want to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
It's boring, right? But it's like, okay, like, what degree of legitimacy do I need for this industry? Like, do I need to hire specialists? Where do I find specialists? If you have something medical, like, do I need to contact medical schools and post a job ad on their job board to try to hire some people, like in universities or something like this? Like, what level of legitimacy is the minimum required, like, in the competition? Like, what's the competitor that does well, and where are they at? How are we going to build links? Like, again, like, it's you can start with these early methods of like guest posts, etc., but we try to less and less do these things and try to find other ways. So like, that can be logistics is also finding the domain. If you do use an expired domain, for example, it will be is digital PR doable in like early on? But also, we're talking about how the site looks and feel at the beginning. So design, UX. Do I have a designer available? Can we build a custom design that actually makes the site feel branded on day one? And yeah, so like, it's very like boring stuff, but that's what actually it's like, in SEO, the trick is not the tactics. The trick is like how you do things and what level of standards do you apply to yourself in terms of how well it's executed. And it's like, that's where like I'm a bit annoyed sometimes when I go to events, because everyone's focused on talking about new tactics, talking about all of that. It doesn't matter. The people who bang the most, they do the most boring shit.
Yeah.
And they just do it much better than you do. And very few people are focused on getting better executing, and too many people are focused on finding some kind of secret that doesn't exist,
Yeah. Everyone's chasing that golden nugget.
It's the same. It's the same with AI content. It's the same with everything, right?
Yeah.
And so we're pretty boring in that aspect, but that's how we run services. And so these days we do more and more partnerships as well. It just like we find more and more we partner with people who have a company, but it's very, very under-marketed, and we'll just buy into it. Like, I'll be like, we're buying 20%, we're buying 30% of the business. We believe in the product. And then it's like it doesn't stop us from running any content on the site that's relevant to the industry. So it could be monetized in many ways, including affiliates and ads. But it just like you get your EEAT right away when you're literally buying into a real business, basically. I think more and more people do that kind of partnership a bit differently. I think we try to do it in a very clean way. Some people just use the domains to just run affiliate content on the domains these days. But that's an easy way to do this.
Yeah. And what if you were starting from scratch, 2024? What are you doing?
It's hard. It's hard, but first of all, it's like you need time or money. It's like you need one or the other. Like, you can spend very little if you want, but I think you need time. You need 2 out of 3: time, talent, money. And so if you can make it with time and talent without money. You can make it with money and time. That's fine. It's like you can just pay for the stuff you're not good at. And you can do it with talent and money as well. I think that's probably the fastest one, actually, if you have those. So you probably need 2 out of 3, because I mean, first, like, for example, let's look at NapLab, for example. He started not long ago, and he did that. He did the talent thing. He got really good at making reviews on the DR1 site, basically. Like, nobody knew the site, etc. And then what you need to do is talk to more people than you think you should. Like, the problem with most people is they don't talk. They don't reach out to businesses. They don't interact with them, etc. So how do I start? Let's just go back to the question, though. How do I start? I would probably start with an expired domain, because it's a very money efficient way to get early results. It's cheaper to buy an expired domain than to buy links. So the value is there. The problem is the brand's going to be shit, but you can rebrand 1 year later. Like, nobody says that, but expired domains have horrible branding usually. Yep. So you're going to run a content site. It's going to be poorly branded, but 1 year later, just buy a .com domain that's well branded. Run the site for 1 year on the expired domain, establish it, and then just rebrand. And then you kind of have the authority and the brand 1 year later. So then again, business model. How do I make money? there's many ways to make money these days. Like affiliate is still definitely open. I think affiliate is more open than ads these days. Like it looks like a lot of heavy ad sites got heavily affected by the updates.
Yeah.
A lot of people are tuning their ads down, including the services themselves, because of poor experience. So whereas niche affiliate for high-paying niches, which is what I tend to prefer. So like Gold IRA, for example, is a good example of a niche that can pay a lot of money. They pay you a percentage of the deposits of people.
Which one? Sorry?
Gold IRA. So it's like a retirement account
where
you invest in gold in the US. And they'll pay you like like a small percentage of what the person invests. Like sometimes you get 1% of what, like, so someone invests their entire retirement savings, right? Someone might invest $200,000 and you get 1% of that. And it's like, bam, $2,000 commission, Like, I mean, actually this year, like from one of these services, I think we got a 7K commission in one shot, actually.
God.
So like, yeah, it's nice. From a similar niche, financial, in investment, financial stuff. And so like, yeah, like your month is done. Like you make one sale, you're happy, You're like, okay, good. So like, and there are lots of like very technical keywords in these niches. It's just like you need to really get into it, like, because there's lots of like these kind of investments. There's like lots of tax implications and like rules that you can refer. That creates keywords, right? Very, very long tail keywords, complicated. You can rank for, and then you just hope for the sale, and bam, make money, for example. So it's like, if I'm starting this year, that's probably what I would go for. I would find one of these very technical niche with low search volume but very high commissions. Build a very clean site. Invest in design. Most like niche sites needs to stop looking like niche sites. It's time. Dude, it's time to.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's one of my anyway. Yeah.
It needs to stop. It's like people need to actually build sites that look proper, and especially imagine in finance, like you're taking financial advice, basically. Like you need to look trustable, man. It's like if your default generate blogs, and it's not good enough. And so I would invest in that in an expired domain, and I would do the EEAT thing where I would hire very qualified writers, create author profiles on my site for them, like people who write for Bankrate, etc. Like you can find them and you can hire them.
Yeah.
Like go on bankrate.com, go on the author list, and go down the list. Like find the most relevant people, reach out to them, hire them for like 1 or 2 articles. It's gonna cost you a lot. Like sometimes an article is gonna be $1,000 or something, right? It's gonna be expensive. Doesn't matter. Because I'm making myself part of the knowledge graph, my site, through the authors. It's like I'm building connections for Google.
Brilliant.
And so I build it and then do the proper schema markup, do all of that, trustable branding, trustable authors, and then probably digital PR and Haro mixed together. I'll probably do that. But I feel like you don't need as many links to rank anymore, provided your site is very, very trustable. So NapLab, again, good example, DR36, I think. They rank in the mattress niche. So it's like, you don't need to chase like a DR50, 60 or something. Like you can have a DR30 site that does pretty well. There's another site I really liked called shavercheck.com that has done really well lately. They actually got affected a bit by the updates, then Google corrected that, which was interesting to observe.
Same. So Shavercheck.
Yeah.
Shavercheck.com. Interesting.
So like these are the kind of affiliate sites I'm looking at. Shavers are interesting. I mean, he does Amazon, but they're pretty expensive. So he's doing okay. Like and then he does a good job at like first-hand experience. It's a small publisher. I think it's one guy running the whole thing. It does look a bit basic in terms of design. That's the one thing where I would probably try to do a better job. But like in terms of first-hand experience, community engagement, etc., that's the kind of sites I would be aiming for. Amazing. And yeah, same. He's DR30. So you don't need that many links. Like it's probably like 2 or 3 digital PR campaigns, a bit of Haro, and done. You're DR30, right? Like it's like it's a lot of work for your first year if you do all of this. It's probably a 2-year job to get there if you just do it the cleanest way. But it's not unreachable at all. And if you look trustable, digital PR will yield more links as well.
Damn, that's a really solid answer. I appreciate that. That's really good. Okay, last question here. I'll let you go soon enough, dude. Sorry,
no worries.
Really new with these things. But So SEO predictions for 2024. I know you just did a podcast for 2 hours on
Yeah,
it.
literally.
So
I'm like opening my notes right now, actually.
so yeah, just a couple predictions.
Okay, I'll give you a few.
Yeah.
One is that we think the SEO industry is gonna split up more than it has before. So like, felt like in the last few years, like kind of like gray hats adopted more and more white hat stuff. White hat stuff kind of like opened up a bit more. People started paying for links, like it became more difficult, etc. So it kind of like became one big group of people doing SEO. And now in the confusion of all the recent Argo updates, the shiniest of all shiny objects that is AI content and SGE and everything, like in a podcast I said, people are acting like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, which is like chaos is a ladder, you know? And like kind of like using that to pull people in different directions. And therefore, and so yeah, people who got like destroyed by updates turning to gray hat, etc. Lots of people are doing that right now. And so like we feel like the industry is going to split up more than it has in the last few years, and there's going to be different kind of like sides to it. We think that the first half of the year is still going to be extremely messy with updates. Like we still have another 6 months of craziness, I think, before Google figures it out. Like it's not good right now. Like nobody, even the whitest white of SEOs are like, Google's kind of shit right now. And then obviously the frequency of updates shows that they think the same. So it's like, yeah, I think well into the summer, it's gonna be rocky. But we also think that a lot of sites that didn't deserve to be hit and were hit, it happened to a lot of people this year, will come back. And Google is basically going to start splitting up like the shitty sites that will stay down and then the good sites that will start coming back up, basically. And probably around maybe like July, August, I think it's going to come down. Like, you know, they still release HEUs, they still release core updates, but they won't affect your traffic as much. Like it's going to be a 10%, 15% swings for people, etc. So think first half of the year, people will still be like, oh my God, SEO, is it dead, etc. Lots of stuff like that. And then second half of the year, people will start figuring it out. It's going to be calmer and people will just like get bullish on the industry again. That's there's been cycles always in this industry. So
always,
it's like,
always.
SEO's been dying for 30 years, so you know.
Listen, the more it dies, the less people are competing.
The more people make money as well.
It's
like the thing. It's like people have never made as much money from it as they have in the last few years, and people are still complaining, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I think SG is rolling out, but it's not going to be nearly as big as what people thought it was going to be at the beginning. So yeah, and we think there's going to be a link update that works like HCU actually. So HCU was like applying modern AI to like it's basically it's an AI factor for content. So we treat this as kind of like the parallel to Google Panda like 10 years ago. And what came a year and a half after Google Panda is Google Penguin, which was the same thing for links, but because links, it will take so much more to qualify them because one page can have hundreds of links, right? So it's a lot more. It's a lot more work in terms of processing that. They're probably trying to optimize their resources to run something like this. But I would not be surprised to see modern AI applied to link quality, basically.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. If that happens, that'll be interesting.
That probably will be the HCU of next year, or it could be the year after. It could take that long. Because resources are a big problem here. But and potentially what they want is classify the pages first very well, so they're happy to understand how good a page is, so that then they can use that information to classify the links on that page. So they can use what they are figuring out with HCU to make the link update less resource intensive. And so I could see something like that being brewing.
Yeah, damn. Wow. That's I don't see that not happening. That's
eventually it will. It's just when, you know. It's like it's a very big technical challenge, I think.
Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate your time. Where can people find you? Obviously, your podcast, YouTube channel. What else? Anywhere else?
I mean, you can we have a free training on the homepage of Authority Hacker. So if you check it out, it is a lead magnet. We do sell a course after that. We give a discount for it, but we do sell a course. But the training on itself is good, and you don't have to buy anything to get good value. Basically, it's like a 30-minute video where it's like I'm in browser showing you how to do stuff. Basically,
amazing.
So yeah, check that out. I'll check the podcast, the YouTube channel, and yeah, I feel like this discussion is very similar, basically.
Amazing. Well, dude, thanks so much for your time. This was a fucking banger. I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you, dude.
No worries.